Hi, and welcome to my model railroad. Well, at least the start of it. Today I wanted to go over how to use the Kreg Jig for building benchwork. Now this is just a method that I'm going to use, and not something you have to use. I'm not being paid by Kreg to make this video, but I thought I'd walk through it with you in case if you're not familiar with how the Kreg Jig works. Now the Kreg Jig is available at most of your hardware stores. You can pick it up for about $100, give or take. And it comes with some screws and some other ingredients. Let's look at what comes in the package. So we have the jig itself, which already comes all assembled. We have the driver bit for driving the screws in, a repair piece for repairing joints, the drill bit and collet, screws and wood plugs, and instructions and bonus material. So how does the Kreg Jig work? So, in the instruction manual, it explains to you that you need to set up the jig for the thickness of your wood. So, as you can see here, I've already gone ahead and adjusted the depth gauge on here to 3/4 inch measurements because that's what we're using for our joists. The adjustments are made using a thumb screw on the side here. You back the screw out, adjust it up and down, and tighten it down. Then we want to adjust our clamp that holds the piece of wood in place. I did this by simply taking a piece of wood, placing it in the jig, running the clamp forward, tightening up my stop, then I backed it up a little bit, added a few turns, and then I tightened up the lock nut so that when I tightened in my piece of wood, I ensured that I got a nice firm grip. The other thing to do is to set up our drill bit. Now the advantage of the Kreg Jig, as you can see here, the bit has a step on it. And that step is basically the engineered design of this drill bit because of the types of screws it uses. Kreg Jigs don't use typical screws. They use a screw that has a washer built on the head. So when you drill the hole, a flat spot is made in your drill hole which the washer anchors down on and draws the wood tight, unlike a typical wood screw, which has the possibility to either bury itself in the wood or split the wood because of its wedge-shaped head. So to adjust the drill bit, we place it in the jig. Now, the important step here is we do not set the depth by the tip of the drill bit. We set it by the step on the drill bit. So as you can see here, I'm using 3/4 inch wood, so I set the step to 3/4 inches. We place our collet on, which I've already done, and go ahead and tighten it down. That sets up the drill bit. Now I've got a piece of wood here, and I've gone ahead and I've marked lines on it. The lines tell me where I want to place my holes. These lines are about 6 inches apart. You can place them however far apart you desire. It all depends on how many screws you want in your benchwork. We take the piece of wood, take one of the lines, match it up with a line on the jig itself, place it in the jig, make sure it's flat in the jig, and tighten it down. You want to make sure your piece is flat in there. If it's off to one side, you may not get a good drill hole or it may be crooked. So then we're going to go ahead, we're going to put our drill bit into our drill, and then we're going to drill our hole. Now when I drill the hole, the collet on the drill bit is going to stop the bit at the desired depth. Once we're done, unclamp our piece of wood, and you can see now we have our hole drilled. And if you can see inside there, I'm not sure if you can or not, but you'll see the step that the drill bit makes. Now the important part of that is when we take our screw and we place it in the hole and we drive it in like so, using my hands because I already made this hole earlier, we can now see that the screw is not only hidden, but it's firmly seated in the piece of wood. And we can see our thread sticking up here. Now, what if you're using two different types of materials? By that I mean two different sizes. What if you have 3/4 inch joists, but you have 1/2 inch sub roadbed, which is what I'm using on my railroad? You still drill your holes 3/4 inches. You still set up your jig for drilling in 3/4 inch thickness wood. In the instruction manuals, it'll tell you what size screw to use for the thickness of wood. For the 1/2 inch sub roadbed, I'm going to be using 1 inch screws. If you're using thicker roadbed, you're probably going to want to use longer screws. Now, if you notice on my joists here, I have lines marked all the way. I have a completed joist that I did earlier, and if you look at this one, you'll see I didn't drill the holes in every line, but if you flip it over on those opposing lines, I drilled the holes. I did this because the screws draw in at an angle when you tighten them down. So by placing every other hole on the opposite side, I'm actually drawing the sub roadbed from 2 different angles. This ensures that you get a good firm grip and that your sub roadbed doesn't shift around on you after your bench work is complete. So, once again, this is just one method you can use to build your model railroad. There are other methods available if you'd like to. If you have more questions or need more information, feel free to contact me or comment underneath this video. Thank you.